Hey, this is Walt with Raybuck Auto Body Parts, and today we're working on our 67 Chevy pickup again. Today we're working on mounting the fuel cell in the back. In previous videos we mentioned that we're taking the tank out of the cab for a couple reasons, safety being primary reason, and it tends to stink like gas in there, and by taking the tank out we'll have a little bit more room for storage, maybe put some little toolkit back there. Maybe some speakers, something like that, or put some wiring back there. So I'm going to show you today how we're going to mount this tank. This is an aftermarket fuel cell. It is not an original style tank, so we have to make all the bracketry and everything to mount it in the truck. There are some different kits out there that use a stock style tank, but even those are not necessarily made for this truck. Because this truck never had a tank like that, so I chose to go this route just because it fit where I wanted it. Some of the other tanks they offer are bigger tanks. They're 20-gallon tanks. This is a 15-gallon tank, so it's a little bit smaller, kind of fit where I wanted, and just worked out a lot better for us. So the frame on the truck is going to remain 99% stock. We're not really changing anything on the frame. Since it's a four-wheel drive truck, we don't have to make any real modifications as far as notching it or anything like that. But what we are doing is taking this cross member out. This cross member actually is in this way. It was kind of in like that. And what we're going to do is we're taking the tank out of the cab and putting the tank back here. So in order to get enough room between here and the back of the bed, we need to move this up. This had 3 rivets per side, and we just knocked those rivets out and just kind of move this forward. We are putting in this 15-gallon fuel cell. This is a aluminum fuel cell from RCI. And we used, I don't think the exact same one, but a very similar one in our 53 Chevy pickup that we did, and it's worked great. So no sense in messing with things that work, so we're just going to use one for this truck as well. The thing I like about this tank, it has basically all your pickups that you could use. Your fuel pickup, your fuel return, and a vent slash rollover vent. That's nice because you can run this with carbureted or fuel injection. Carbureted, you don't need the return line necessarily. Some do, but you really don't need one for what I'm doing. But if you were running fuel injection, you could run a return line. The other nice thing is it does come with a sending unit. It comes with a filler neck and a cap already on it. So that's kind of nice. Some of the like aftermarket type fuel cells, they just come with a cell. Then you have to buy extensions or caps depending on what you're doing, and sending units as well. This is a 0 to 90 ohm sending unit, so it will work with our stock gauges. And basically what we're doing, why I'm using this is we're not putting any kind of a fuel neck or anything going to the outside of the truck. We'll just cut a hole in the bed of the truck, and I'll probably make a little door or something, and that way just kind of reach down in, take your cap off, and you just fill through the bed of the truck. Again, we did that on the 53. On that we just cut a hole, and we bought a fuel door off of, I think it was off of Jeep or something like that, and that worked real nice. You just flip the door up and you can access the gas tank that way. So what we have to do, this tank is just a little bit wider than the frame, so what we're going to have to do is cut to get it up in there and get some measurements, but roughly about an inch off the, actually probably not off the top, but off the bottom side of the frame. What I pretty much want to do is make the top of the fuel cell just sit flush with the frame here. You have, I don't know the exact measurement, we'll say it's 2 to 3 inches, something like that, where the bed of the truck is up off this frame, because you have the rails for the bed that sit on the frame, and then there's a gap there. So if we can put the tank pretty much right under the frame rail here, that should give us enough clearance. This, I don't think this sticks up as high as the lines are going to stick up. These are dash 8 AN fittings. So what we'll do is we'll use like a dash 8 AN fitting, run it over to the frame rail, and then probably connect to a fuel filter there, and from the fuel filter we'll change that to some type of adapter that'll let us go to a 3/8 hard line, and that'll run up to the front of the truck to the motor. Basically what we're doing though is we're making the brackets to mount this tank. I was kind of unsure how I wanted to mount the tank, if I wanted to kind of have it go into a frame and then have straps like a stock tank, or I just wasn't sure about it. So I looked at it for a while. We did a tank on the 53 Chevy pickup, and it was very similar to this. Actually, I don't think it was the same tank. It was a little bit different dimensions, but same company. It was an RCI tank, and we just basically took angle iron, made a frame, and that worked really well. So that's what we're going to do with this one. I think we're going to do this one a little bit different though. On the 53, we made a frame. The tank went up into the frame and then kind of had straps on the bottom that bolted in. This one, I'm going to make the frame kind of go, as you can see here, around the bottom. There'll be some pieces that run along this edge on the front and the back. And then what I'm going to do is down here, there'll be some angle that comes off of there, and the frame and the whole tank and everything will just bolt up to the bottom of the frame rail. I did it that way. It just seemed like an easier way to do it. That way I could do everything on the tank, keep everything pretty square. I have the frame cut out to the width of the tank. Had to take about an inch or so off of each side of the frame just to get it up in there. But so we're working on this, and show you what I've done so far. If we take this off, you can see these pieces of rubber on here. Since we are using this metal frame on aluminum and the tank kind of floats in there, we need something to prevent it from rubbing the tank, especially since this is aluminum. We don't want it to get dirt and stuff in there and eventually rub a hole in it. So we put this rubber in there, and what I use is just this. It's a 3M weather strip adhesive. We sell this at Raybuck, and it works really well. It's a contacted adhesive, so basically you put some on the rubber, some on the tank, and stick it on. I put it on there not necessarily to make sure the rubber stays there forever, but just so it sticks in place, so I can mock up everything. And once it's all bolted in, the rubber's not going to go anywhere. It'll get sandwiched between the tank and the brackets, and that'll hold that all in there. But just for now, I stuck it on there, and it stays in place, stays where I need it to be. But made these brackets. Just got some regular old angle iron, and we're making some brackets to hold that in there. So I'll show you these brackets. Basically, like I said, this isn't finished. The tank is upside down, so this would be going from the bottom up. But the bracket's just gonna kind of slide over like that. So basically, when this is all in there, there'll be a bracket here. This will all be attached to the tank, and the tank will be flipped over, and then it'll all go up into, let me show you where that's gonna go. So the way that this is gonna work is, you can just envision the tank being inside this bracket. There's gonna be a bracket that bolts to the bottom of this frame here, and so this is gonna just go up, and it will probably right about there, this will go up and bolt to the bottom of the frame and hold that tank in there. As you can see, I already cut out a section of the frame on both sides. This tank is about 30 inches wide. I think that area was around 27, so that had to be cut. You can see right there is where the tank is going to start. And that silver dot there is where the end of the tank will be, and that hole right there is where that bracket used to be mounted. So all we're going to do is move that a little bit forward, probably where this bar is right here. What I did was I had the stock cross member in there, and I bolted it back in, because when you unbolt that, these frame rails tend to move. It's not a ton of movement, but you can actually watch these spring perches move back and forth. So what I did was I put this cross member in, bolted it in, and then I just put some tack welds and welded this crossbar in. I know it's not 100% correct. Once I unbolted everything, it moved a little bit, but it pretty much keeps the frame rails from kind of twisting or moving side to side. So once I am done mounting the tank, then I'll get the cross member back in, and that should all hopefully be correct then. But that is what we're doing. These brackets, like I said, nothing major, just some angle iron. Tacked them all up, and I just tacked them in place while they're on the tank. So I got a little bit further on the tank and finished making the frame that's on the bottom. And as I was afraid, once I finished welding everything, it did tighten up a little bit, which makes it pretty difficult to get it on and off with the rubber insulation around the corners. But that's not such a big deal because I really don't plan on taking this in and out very often. But it does make this a little bit more difficult. I was afraid that might happen, and I tried to make it, a little bit loose, but not too loose to the point that the tank was kind of moving around in there. So you can see it goes over the corners. It's just that as it goes down, the tank, I guess, isn't 100% square. So as it gets down, it fits well once it's all the way down, but there's a tight, once you get this kind of down in this region, it starts getting tight. It just takes some work to get it down. I may have to try putting some type of lubricant or something on the rubber, because basically that's the problem. Is I think if it was just metal on metal or something like that, it would probably just slide on, but the rubber causes a lot of friction. So, and we're going to put these brackets on, and basically the way it's going to go, well, this isn't the bracket, but the way it's going to go on would be, actually here's the bracket. So this is going to go something like this. Again, the tank is upside down, so that when it's flipped over, this flange will butt up against the frame, and we'll put a couple bolts on each side, and that should hold that pretty well. Okay, so we jump forward a little bit. I got the brackets on, and these are just tacked on for now. I need to see kind of where the tank sits, so I'm going to put it up in here into the frame, and we'll clamp it in. And just temporarily. I did drill holes in the brackets just so I can transfer those to the frame if everything works out. So, well, let's get it in and see how it fits. Alright, so here's the tank installed. It's not bolted in yet, just clamped in. But you can see basically this is pretty much how it's going to be. Pretty happy with how it worked out. The brackets, I made the brackets so I had a little bit of distance here. I didn't want this to rub. It's a little tight on this side compared to this side, so, but I don't think that should really be a problem. Okay, here's the completed tank installed, and pretty happy with how it fit in there. Right now I just have it clamped in. As I said, I drilled the holes in the brackets, but I haven't drilled the holes in the frame yet, and I just wanted to get it clamped in there, see how it fit, and pretty much fit as planned. One area doesn't hit, but it is kind of tight, so there is nothing here. The bed supports sit here and here, so I may just take a hammer to this and pound that up a little bit just to get a little bit of clearance. For whatever reason, this side is much better, so not too worried about that, but it's pretty much how I had anticipated. And the nice thing is, once this is all done, it just simply unbolts. These two bolts here hold it in, and basically I can just unbolt this and the whole tank and frame will drop out. And I did it that way just in case I needed to get this out of the way for anything. I know bumper bolts go in there, and getting to those with the tank in or with, you know, brackets and things in the way would be pretty difficult to do. So I should be able to put the bed on, put the bumper on, and then just take the tank, go up in. There is, you can see like the fittings, I don't know exact height, but there are rails that sit on the bed, so that the actual bed floor is, you know, up here somewhere. But yeah, so hangs down a little bit, but should pretty much be covered by the bumper. Probably gonna see a little bit of it, maybe. I don't know. That's, yeah, maybe not. It's hard to tell. But anyway, I think I'm gonna paint it black, at least like the lower half of it, just so it blends in. I don't really want it to be like a showy thing, so paint that black. And yeah, so it turned out pretty good. And to actually retain the tank in the frame, I'm gonna have to look at it, but I think I may just weld a bolt or something on the back here, and then just run some sort of strap up over the middle, and that's really all you need. This is not going anywhere. I mean, you can't even move it while it's in the frame, so that should be good. If you have any questions about the tank or the installation or anything, please comment below. Thanks again for watching, and please like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks.